Namaskar, dear seekers, and welcome. Welcome to our live stream topic. So we are resuming after quite some time. Now it is our series where we take a topic and then you can ask your questions. The live stream is around 1 hour duration and I will be sharing some points for around 15 minutes also, and we'll show you some visuals and images, and after that will be your questions and comment in regards to this topic. So first I would like to introduce myself in short. My name is Syriac. I'm originally from France. I started doing spiritual practice for more than 24 years now. I live in India also for more than 10 years in an ashram where I practice spirituality. And now for the past 2 years, 3 years, I'm in Europe, in Germany. And we also travel across Europe, or we have also seekers from SSRF who travel across the world to spread spirituality. And what SSRF is an acronym of the Spiritual Science Research Foundation. It's a non-profit organization, and it is registered in USA, in Germany, in Australia. And the main aim or objective is to explain about the spiritual dimension and how it can affect us positively and negatively. So for that we have a website where we have more than 750 articles on different topics about spirituality, spiritual practice. So I of course invite you to read and study our website. And we have also a platform where we have more than 50 online meetings, spiritual meeting, what we call also satsang, in English and different languages, where seekers from across the world can come and learn. It is also free of charge and open to all who are actually genuine and wants to progress and to learn about spirituality. We have seekers who practice spirituality for more than 15 to 20 years who actually conduct those online meetings. So everyone is welcome. You can always register on our website, or if you like to know more, you can always write to us on the live chat. We have two seekers today. We are there to moderate your questions and answer on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So don't hesitate to, of course, ask questions about this topic. And before we start, usually what we do for around 2 minutes, we will meditate to achieve some concentration. So what we do, we play in the background a divine name. So what you can do, you can close your eyes, you can either meditate, you can either focus on your breath, or you can, if you want to repeat the divine name also in your mind, you can do. You can regulate, of course, the audio as per your convenience. And then we will be starting with the topic today. So dear seeker, you can close your eyes now, and then for 2 minutes we will play the divine name.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय 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 ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
So, dear seekers, you can open your eyes now. And I don't know if some of you join in the meantime. We will be starting with our topic today. It is our series of question answers where also we share a topic for 10-15 minutes. I will show you some also images and graph. And after that can be your questions, your interactions about this topic. So of course feel free to, you can even from now on write your comments or questions. We have two seekers, as I shared in beginning, who will collect your questions and comment. So we will go through that afterwards. And actually the topic today, I think some of you may have seen, it is very simple. It is how to be happy. But do we experience it every day? And see, we usually take not so much time to step back and to view our life more with that perspective, or whether we have questioned, or must you have questioned yourself and may have got this question in your mind. Am I really happy as I really would like to be? And the fact that in this session together that we would like to, all of us, increase happiness. I'm sure those who are coming would like to, because we always want more happiness, no? Isn't it? We never, this is our pursuit. We will always want to experience more and more happiness. And we run away from unhappiness, or we avoid situation where we can experience unhappiness. So just today, let us step back and see how usually we respond to life. What actually determine our response. So for that, I would like to show you an image that we will display. As we show now here, we just don't have only a physical presence, but we also have a subtle or intangible presence. So I will explain a little bit of what actually are we comprised of. And as you can see that we are all of us are very much aware of our physical body. After there is another that we call the vital energy. The vital energy is just that energy that makes us sustain. And the other part is what we have, what we call the mind, or the intellect also, that we are very much aware of that also, but they are actually intangible, subtle bodies that is around us. And what we have also is what we have also the ego, that I of being separated from God, that self-identity. And we have also this what we call the soul, that is the divine principle, or this divine component that is in every one of us. And of course our physical body will be different, how we all look like. Our mind will be different as compared with others, depending on our temperament, our quality, our defect, our like and dislike. So our mind will be different. Our intellect also will be different. But the soul or the God principle is 100% the same in every one of us. Why I wanted to show you, because this particular aspect you will comprehend as we continue in the topic today. If you have any questions about this image, of course, feel free to start commenting or asking questions in the chat. We will remove the image, and as I shared, if this God principle within us is actually, this divine principle is blissful, and it is in each one of us. But what we do, we keep looking for happiness or reduce unhappiness in everything we try to do. As I shared initially, we try also to avoid unhappiness. But we are not looking for this permanent happiness. We always look for happiness, but they have some shorter durations. And for that, I would like to explain also with a simple graph. So I will show you another image. It is a graph, and I will explain with some examples. As you can see here, we have quality of happiness and the duration of happiness. So through the five senses, what it means. So I will give an example. Let's say I would like to eat my favorite food. So at that time, through my five senses, I will experience some moment of pleasure, of happiness, and it will last the moment uh, before eating, while eating, and maybe some minutes or hours after eating. And at that time, it will end also. This pleasure or happiness through these five senses will stop. So there is another through the mind. So the mind is, let's say, I will spend time with my best friend or the one that I feel close to and have a nice discussion. So at that time, we also experience a longer duration of happiness. But similarly, there is also some end to it when this discussion end or this interaction stop. At that time, it may last maybe for a longer duration, 1 hour, 2 hours. But again, after our daily routine start, our mind, our thoughts from the past and future come to our mind, and this happiness, in a way, it stop or it vanish. And then there is another, it is through our intellect. So let's say taking some jobs that we like or some project that we like. So at that time, this duration can last for weeks or so altogether. But when this project or this there is also an end to it. So some keep on going from one project to another project, to keep going from something new again and again, because there is always an end to every situation that I have shared. So we keep on going from one favorite meal to something we like by mind, something we could get with intellect. But actually there is what we see, this graph showing this soul, the bliss, and this is a superlative happiness, and it is of much higher. You can see it is far superior than happiness, and it is permanent. There is no end, because it is belongs to the soul within. As I shared to you earlier, that actually we search outwardly. That means we search for happiness from outside with our five senses, mind and intellect. But in reality, this permanent happiness, regardless of any external stressors, reside within us. But we are all making the same common mistake of looking outwardly, because it is easier. Sometimes we can just buy it also. But finding this inner happiness, it is something that only we will find only if we go inward and we look also. And it is only with making some specific efforts. It doesn't just come. I'm sure some of you may be relating to what I'm sharing now, or some of you may have experienced also something like that. So please, you can also write if you have comments or questions about what I share. Please feel free also to write. I will just remove this, I think, this graph. Sorry, it must have been long to see the graph, because actually I would like to show you now another image. The last image from today's topic, it's, as I shared before, now we need to look inward. And how do we look inward? Actually, how we look like. And you can see this darkness, or this dark color, gray and black, are actually our five senses, mind and intellect. And this golden light, or we can say this yellow light, is a soul within us. And why it doesn't shine? Because it is covered by our five senses, mind and intellect. Like you put a thick blanket over a bulb, you will not, it will remain darkness in the room. So when we start looking inward and we start to do some spiritual practice, then what happens? We associate ourselves less to these five senses, mind and intellect, and we start to experience that there is something deeper inside. And which practice can I do? This practice is whether we do some meditative practice that we work on subconscious level. We can repeating a divine name also in the mind, or trying to give oneself hypnotherapy, what we call also autosuggestions, to overcome some incorrect habit that actually lead us to unhappiness. And more we start to dwell within or start to understand and try to change our incorrect behavior or incorrect patterns, and we try to inculcate this divine principle within us or to experience it, then what, as you can see in the image, no, then this darkness of ignorance start to reduce and the soul start to shine. It's like if you have a very thick blanket over a bulb, it will just be darkness. And then if you remove, or you just keep a lighter blanket, then you will start see some light appearing and experience. And I think I met many seekers who start experiencing some inner joy devoid of any external stressors. And initially when it happened, the person say, I'm happy for nothing, because that happiness come from within. And actually later on, as we can see, as we keep doing spiritual practice and grow spiritually, then the soul shine fully, and that we experience bliss, and then we can remove the image and just to share that we start experiencing this bliss that is far more superior than just this happiness that we are used to. I don't know if some of you may have maybe experienced one day some different type of happiness that you could not probably describe in words, and you felt different, you felt something deeper, stronger, and maybe it could have been a short experience of bliss for a fraction of a second. Because initially what happened, this bliss that we make, or that we experience or can experience, initially start with some glimpses of 1 second, 2 seconds, and it is of few percent durations. And it is and we experience also it is something very different. And as we keep doing spiritual practice, these durations of bliss and intensity also start growing. It is something quite amazing, because it is something how this God principle within us can give so much happiness within oneself. So now I would like to, if you would like to share your thoughts, or if you have questions about what I just shared about this topic, or your situation also where you would like to be happy. Because what happens also, sometimes we feel happy and we feel we are fine, everything goes well, but then something come in our life, and then we feel all the effort we have done goes vain, and again I'm not happy. But just to understand that we go through this roller coaster also of happiness and unhappiness, but how to come out, or how to stop this roller coaster. So I would like to see now, maybe I will see if we have some questions, so if some of you have shared. For now we have one question. It is from Poonam Joshi. You said, any chant to attract a good soul while planning pregnancy? So actually, Poonam, it's a good question, because as when the woman is pregnant, if they chant God's name, actually it's purify. We have article on our website that really, we can paste, maybe if the moderator can see, to paste in the chat. It is two articles that we have written. Is the womb, the before birth, what happened. So if you chant God's name, you can chant God's name as per your religion of birth, or if you are not attached to any religion, you can chant this universal chant that is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, because when we repeat a divine name, and there is this spiritual principle that name, form, and energy coexist. So when we chant God's name, we attract this divine principle, this divine positivity within us. And when what you can do also, Poonam, is while you chant, you can place your hand on your womb. So that means the positivity also will go through the womb. So if the womb is positive, then it can attract a positive subtle body. If you have other questions through that, Poonam, don't hesitate. You can always ask in the chat, or you can also ask on our live chat facility. And you can read the two articles that we have written. There is another question from Dragon Heart. What is the difference between happiness and bliss? Or is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference, Dragon Heart. There is a difference in intensity, because the happiness actually has a hand, and it has some amount of happiness, we can say. But in bliss is much higher of intensity. I will say it is something we can't explain in words. See, if I ask you now a simple questions, what can you explain me about sugar? When you eat sugar, what you feel when you eat sugar? Can you explain me in 10 words? What is your perception of what you feel? You will tell me it is sweet, it is nice, or it is pleasant, it is smooth. But what you experience is very different, no? When you eat sugar. So similarly, when we experience bliss, it is very difficult to explain in words exactly how we can say. But actually the experience is far more in magnitude as compared to the simple happiness that we usually experience. Of course, in happiness there are also some variations, because let's say somebody give me something I like, some nice chocolate, I feel happy. But if somebody give me a bigger gift, or some loved one come and tells me a nice thing, I will feel more happy. So of course, that intensity of happiness is more, as we saw, through the five senses, mind and intellect. It's just also longer in duration, but the bliss is 1,000 times far superior and cannot so much be described in words as we say what is the taste of sugar. So I hope that answers your question, Dragon Heart. Another question from Amit Ambar: how to be free from unwanted thoughts? So that is a good question, actually, Amit, because actually why we sometimes are not happy? Because our mind is full of thoughts, or our mind always wander, and that is a function of the mind. What our mind will do, our mind will take us in the past and usually try to go back to the old memory, bad memories, or bring us in the futures, what we should do, what we should not do. So we get worried. So the mind actually doesn't remain in present tense, because in present tense there is no thoughts. there is more calmness. So the thoughts that comes in our mind enable us in a way to get that stability or that sense standstill, we can say, like to be in a present tense. And for that there are two simple tools, one I have shared, but I will explain more in detail. It is what we call chanting. Chanting is actually an ancient technique from India of repeating a divine name. Some also, maybe you may have read, repeat also mantras or guru mantras in the mind. So how it works, it is pretty simple, is when we repeat a divine name or a name, actually there is a barrier between our conscious and subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is 90% as compared to our conscious mind. And all the thoughts actually come from our subconscious mind. They are recorded. It's like a hard disk where you have a record of all our interactions, all our impressions, quality, defect. They are all stored in our subconscious mind. And what happened, all the thoughts coming from our subconscious keep coming to our conscious, one thought at a time. But sometimes we feel we have many thoughts. Is because the speed of thought is very fast. So what we want to do, what is meditation or what is chanting, is exactly the same principle of technique. Is we want the mind to have no thoughts. So through meditation is what? It's like we close our eyes and we try to ignore the thoughts so that the mind become empty. But sometimes it may be difficult to do in a daily life interaction. We need to find a calm space, peaceful state, and also we should not be too stressed, because if we have a stressful day, at that time we can't meditate. It's too many thoughts. So that technique of chanting is to actually induce a positive thought in the mind who come to the subconscious mind, because there is this principle that only one thought at a time come from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. So if we repeat a divine name, at that time the other thoughts in our subconscious mind are deflected. They are not able to enter. Or we may perceive them initially when we do that, because the strength of the impression in comparison from that impression of chanting or the impression of, let's say, worry is 1,000 times bigger or 100 times bigger. So of course that, but with time and practice, that's why chanting, repeating God's name in the mind, we should give at least 6 months try, because it takes time for the positive impression to grow in our subconscious mind. And as the impression grow in our subconscious mind, then what happens? It will start reducing the other thoughts in our subconscious mind. And it is something that can be done anywhere, anytime. And most of the time, some of you may have experienced that we do some random activity and we get unnecessary thoughts. 80% of our thoughts are unnecessary. So that's why during those random activity, instead of wasting time in entertaining those thoughts that we don't want, actually, if we repeat God's name, or this divine name, we will bring positivity in our mind, and slowly the impressions in the subconscious mind will become less, and then slowly those number of unwanted thoughts will also reduce. That is the first technique. And the second technique is to work on what we call this self-hypnosis, what we say self-hypnotherapy, is to take this autosuggestion technique. So let's say we have worry. So we have this unwanted thought due to worry or due to fear. So at that time we can take a specific autosuggestion. It is not an affirmations. It comes from this practice of the personality defect removal that has been created by His Holiness Dr. Jayan Balaji Attavali, that is a source of inspiration of SSRF. This is a saint, higher saint from India, and he has put in place this process of overcoming or reducing this personality defect in our mind. That is actually the source of our unhappiness. And this autosuggestion is more, it is tailor-made. It is something that you start repeating to induce some positive thoughts to your mind and to counteract the negative impression or the negative thoughts that you have. It is a process. It is a process that to learn, and this is a process that we also teach in our online spiritual meeting that we call also satsang, that I shared initially, that SSRF have this platform, and it is open to all. It is also free of charge because we do it as our spiritual practice, as our seva to God. So if you would like to learn this simple process of how to overcome those personality traits and to learn this autosuggestion technique, I also invite you also to read our article on our website. We will paste also in the chat this article about the sections on how to work on removing personality defect, as well as the online spiritual meetings that we have. So I hope I answer your question. I mean, it was maybe a bit lengthy. I will go next. There is another question from Pavan Paga. Can you give me the analogy of liberation after sainthood? Or one more question. What is spiritual practice required after reaching continuous bliss? So actually for the second question, Pavan, is actually our aim is what? Is bliss only. So one person is in permanent bliss. There is nothing behind bliss. So at that time, and the person can reach permanent bliss only when they come to a very high spiritual level. And at that time, no spiritual practice is needed because the person is in continuous bliss only. So you would like to know the analogy of liberation after sainthood. See, after a person becomes saint, no, in spirituality, somebody becomes saint is when they achieve a spiritual level of 70%. That means that the mind have dissolved to a great extent, and these associations, see, usually what happens, we associate ourselves to the body, to the mind, to the intellect, to our identity, and the spiritual percentage, or we can say the sainthood, is the person is able to identify himself more to the God within oneself. And as we keep going further and further, then the person keep growing spiritually. After that, the person start experiencing more oneness, more merging with, experiencing more oneness with others, experiencing spiritual love with others, experiencing there is less separation between myself and others, or myself and the surrounding. So there is, as we keep traveling in our journey toward God's realizations, there are so many beautiful experiences, and that is more important, because the destination, what counts is a final destination. It is becoming one with God. It's what we call also becoming one with everything. And what is important in spirituality is a journey and experiencing learnings, bliss, happiness. And as we also keep growing spiritually, there is different stages. So initially we experience happiness, then the person start experiencing spiritual energy, then spiritual emotion, then divine consciousness, what you call chaitanya, and then shanti, called peace. So the experience also keeps on changing and growing, and that is actually, as I'm saying, theoretical, but in spirituality, 98% importance is experience, spiritual experience and experiencing it. There's another question from Nicola. I would like to ask, how do we differentiate feelings of different energy, like bliss, chaitanya, peace? Or is it the same positive feelings that come with spiritual practice? Will you please give us some tips how to feel most bliss from our spiritual practice, or how to increase its quality, reduce ego related to it? Actually, it's a good question, Nicola. I answered to some of it actually just before. I didn't see your questions. And as I shall see, actually, there is a difference between bliss, chaitanya, divine consciousness, peace. They are different. But as I shared initially, as we keep, there is spiritual emotion. But as we keep experiencing it, as I shared before to the first question, what is a taste of sugar? How you explain the taste? Say it in few words. So similarly, when you start experiencing bliss, chaitanya, you will experience a difference, because you will see that difference are not the same, but they are. It is not like we want this better, because it is something we also cannot decide or command. They just happen, and we're experiencing as a result of the spiritual practice. But mainly is what spiritual practice is in my hand and what I can do, because the rest is not in my hand. So what is in my hand is, let's say, chanting God's name, or working of overcoming defect within oneself, or reducing ego within oneself, or trying to do more service to God. So those steps of spiritual practice we should try to do, and we should try to increase them steadily, and slowly those experience come as a reward, and they come automatically. And see, what is the tip to feel more bliss? Then to do more spiritual practice only. That is a simple answer. More spiritual practice. See, to realize God, what we have to do if we want to realize God. Because God is 100% bliss. So if we want to merge to God, then we have to sacrifice everything to God. Then only we are able to merge to God. There's a question, it's called Question Everything. This is your questions. What is the difference between Chaitanya and Shakti? Do animals have a soul, ego and mind, intellect as well? So the difference between Shakti means energy, means positive energy, and Chaitanya means divine consciousness. So they are very different in natures. And about animals, yes, animal also do have a soul within, but it is of much smaller as compared to human being. So actually, God is everywhere. God is in human being, in animal, in also plants, but they are of in human being. Why human being is more? Because human being have this divine component much more than any other living being on this planet. So that is why that responsibility as a human being. And animals don't have intellect so much. Their intellect are much more limited as compared to human being. That's why also human being have this intellect, and due to God has given intellect to human being because they have this free will, as compared to animals who goes more by instinct. So they do have some component of the God within, but it is less in quantity, and they go more by instinct, as human beings go by intellect. That's why human beings have this actually free will to choose good or bad. And this free will is we should do spiritual practice because we are born for two reasons. We are born to go through destiny, and the second actually is to practice to grow spiritually. But in today's time, unfortunately, the free will is used to make money, or the free will is used to experience happiness in worldly matters, instead of using free will to go inward and try to find happiness within. There is another question from Dai Nguyen. I have this question in my mind after reading the Universe article on the website of SSRF, and after the great dissolution of the universe, only the unmanifest principle of God remains. Does it mean most of our soul will be erased? So there is a meaning to the journey of our soul to liberations. So actually, and when I will try to explain, of course, this is a theoretical questions. It is not at all that the soul get erased. It's because the soul don't have identity of self. It's like, if I will give as an analogy, you have so many different rivers, stream, who are smaller, bigger, and they are all separates in a way as their identity. Even they have been given name also. Some are called Rhine, some are called Ganga, depending on the country where they are, they have been given different names. But as they convert and they start, water is water, no? It's the same, whether it is Ganga, whether it is Rhine, whether it is Danube. It is the same water principle. It is not a different type of water. Of course, pollution may be there, but it is the same water. But when this water merge into the ocean or the sea, at that time, of course we say North Sea, Pacific, Atlantic, but what I'm trying to say is at that time the river don't have identity anymore because it is the sea. So similarly, the soul within everyone, it is actually the one God principle everywhere. So that become one. As a drop of water merge into a glass of water, it doesn't become a drop. It becomes, it is water. It always remain water, but that identity of separation is removed. So I don't know if that answer your question, Daihan Nguyen. There's another question from Christina Mu. I always try to avoid pain instead of putting effort to become truly happy. What can help me to let go of this habit? And actually, Christina, you are speaking about the habit and tendencies that all human beings have, and we all have, because it is normal to do like that. Why? Because in today's time, it is more adverse for everyone. Our destiny is more difficult than positive destiny. That is what we are in this current era, where 65% of our destiny is more unhappy than happy, or we face more challenges, more struggle. So what we will do? Naturally, we will try to do everything to avoid pain. That is the normal tendency, and our mind also struggle. So we don't want to experience that. So our focus is more to avoid pain, and then we don't have time to try to become happy because we are busy trying not to be unhappy, or we are busy to avoid being hurt. This is where we are more busy at. So that's why chanting God's name is one simple way that can be done anywhere, anytime. It can be done while traveling, commuting, while we interact with others, when we are eating. So what happened is when we chant God's name, at that time this positivity come within us. The mind is able to remain in present. So we are not so much or less affected by the outside. So automatically our time of trying to fix or to run away from problem become less. And then we get time to go inward. We have time to start going inward. And then there is no doubt when a person starts going inward, it's a question of time. But the person will find God principle within, because it is there only, it just need to be found. But we have to first being able to remain stable, then we can start going inward. And that is spiritual practice only. That is why we do spiritual practice, is to be able to go inward and find this diamond that God has put in us. There is a question from Full Moon. Full Moon was yesterday. That is a good nickname, but in 2 weeks you can change your name by New Moon. It's okay, no? It's a joke, huh? So your question is how to stay positive and calm when you are surrounded by evil people. Every time I practice chanting, situation become worse, plus enemy appears. So your question, Full Moon, see, we are similarly, as I shared to Christina, we live in today's time that sometimes is more adverse, depending of our destiny, that may be sometimes difficult. And of course, when we are surrounded by people who may be more negative or in the difficult situation, it is not easy to remain positive and calm. That's why it takes time. It's a question of time to be able to continue chanting, and actually it is sometimes it helps us. We will not be able to remain calm, but we may be able to remain stable, or we may be able to face the situation if it is part of our destiny to go through some situations. So there is also this process to work on self, also to work on worry, fear, anger, because when this happens, we get angry, no? But then we should work on anger also, because if some people, of course, are not nice to me, I will get angry. But we should work on it as well. We should, and this is, chanting will not help to reduce anger, but this autosuggestion technique helps us to reduce anger. There's another question from Parul Tuganet. How do I keep doing spiritual practice consistently and increasing in quantity and quality as my spiritual practice derail every life event? So if I understood your question, Parul, is you are trying to do spiritual practice, you want to be consistent and you want to keep increasing, but sometimes some life situation come and then everything collapse. So it can be understood, and initially it is normal, we can say. So until and unless the spiritual practice is stronger, then at one point of life, because I have seen with seekers who practice spirituality for longer time, despite the life event, and I've seen some with very difficult life situations, but because they were practicing spirituality for a longer time, they were able to remain stable, and the spiritual practice were able to continue. So that is normal initially. If our spiritual practice is not rooted enough, then the first life event will throw us out. But if we continue steadily practice, so it will be like that, and this is everybody have experience when we start spirituality, that there is many ups and downs. But as we keep doing perseverance, slowly the ups and downs or the gaps will slowly start reducing. It's a question of time, of course, and desire to change or progress, that after that the seeker can experience stability even in some challenging or able to continue spiritual practice. So please do continue. Parul, see, in spirituality, what is more important is perseverance. That is a very important quality in spirituality, because it's not a race of 100 meters. It's a marathon. It's a journey, lifelong journey. And to overcome destiny that we have, our mind, our ego, it takes time. So we should be steady. So in everything that we have tried in our life to succeed in something that is of a higher magnitude, it just don't happen within a short time. A lot of hard work is required, and this always come when we are steady in our efforts. There's another question from Ficus Carissa. Do you ever listen to opera or other Western music, or do you select according to its vibrations? See, actually, Ficus Carica is. I used to listen to classical music. I used to listen to pop song also before, when I was younger. Definitely, like every young person will do. But as I started practicing spirituality, I started also to change my choice of music, depending, exactly as you say, on the vibrations. And I would like if we can paste in the chat, because we have a very interesting articles as well as a video explaining how music, different type of music, can affect us positively or can also affect us negatively. We have done research using biofeedback device, and we have seekers, we have listened to different type of music, and we measured with some biofeedback device, and it is astonishing to see that sometimes our aura can either decrease positively or increase negatively, or increase positively all the way around, by listening to different music. This is something not only on the side of music, is of course in the different choice of lives we do. We have a section on our website called about daily life choices, where you can see, I think, to give you the exact name on our section on our website, this is spiritual living. You have many topics regarding of what help us at vibration level, because in spirituality, what matter is vibrations. What we listen, what we eat, what we wear, what we do can have either a positive impact or a negative impact, or what will help us ultimately from vibration point of view. So this is something you can, I hope, may clarify many of your questions by reading those articles or looking our video on music. There's another question from Full Moon. What do you think of asceticism, leaving the world for the love of God and live alone in a secluded place? Can we reach God without a guru? So about asceticism, to be ascetic means to renounce the world and go to Himalaya or mountains and seclude oneself. So actually, it is very difficult to do that, to be able to really progress spiritually. Only in some very rare cases that we have seen in some saints, but they were already at a very high spiritual level, we were able to grow spiritually just by this practice called Hatha Yoga. And but for a person like who live in the world, in a way we should practice spirituality in the world. But of course, if I like to go ski, if I like to go mountains, and I like to meet my friend every week and go to cinema every second day, or watch TV, my favorite movie, every second day. At that time, it is difficult, of course. So somewhere is, instead of renouncing the world 100%, is how to dedicate more time, our time, to spiritual practice in a world where we are, instead of using this time in worldly pursuit or worldly pleasure. So being ascetic will not help us. Actually, we should be ascetic of our mind. That means we should be able to detach by mind from whatever pleasurable or things that we like, because this is more the mind, not the body, that we need to detach, but from our mind, from our incorrect habits, from our ego, wanting praise or wanting importance. That is, what I want to say by mind. So working on that, we will become an ascetic. We live in the world, our body is in the world, but our mind is connected to God. And can we reach a guru, a God without a guru? Similarly, same, actually, to be able to reach God without a guru, it depends on the path, of course. So there is a path of knowledge. So there is as many paths to God as there are people. That is a spiritual principle. And depending again on the spiritual level of a person, it can be, but it is rare. But most of the time, in today's time where we are, we need somebody who need to teach us, who have walked the path, where a real guru can tell us how to go to God. Because in today's time, it is very difficult where we are spiritually. In a very old time, what we call Satya Yuga, at that time there were no need of any spiritual gurus, because everybody was a very high spiritual level. So everybody was already connected to God. But in today's time, considering the lower spiritual level of where we came today, we need somebody to show us the way, show us the path, to be able to realize God. So, dear Siga, it is very nice that many of you have different questions about the topic, of course, how to be happy, but also different question. It's good to try, even though you ask theoretical questions, that is also okay. But when it comes to spirituality, we should try to ask more practical questions. What I should do, what to work on this, how to work, because that is the aim, no? Ultimately, theory is important to understand the importance of practicing spirituality. So just wanted to share, dear seekers, that we also have tonight same topic, but it will be conducted by Her Holiness Bhavna Shinde. She is presently in USA, and the topic, it's the same topic of how to be happy. It is from 9 to 10 p.m. EST as per US time. We will continue also with the collective meditation. We have a 1 hour collective meditation 3 times a week. That is on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So everyone is welcome, and it is free to all. And we will also have on 2nd April, we will resume as we had in beginning of the year, a 3 hours open meditation session. So everyone is welcome for this session. So dear Sigar, I hope you learned something today. Don't hesitate to ask questions on our live chat facility. And there is one way also, if you like SSRF, if you want to support us and help us, you can also always share our website or some articles that you like, or our live stream to somebody that you know that may be interested about this particular topic that you have found on our website. Or you can always donate as a donation to help us and support us. We are a non-profit organization, and all the seekers behind SSRF, from behind the website or practicing spirituality, as doing this as their service to God. So dear seeker, I wish you a blissful day or blissful evening, most probably, and maybe hope to see you tonight with Her Holiness Bhavana Shinde, or see you maybe on Thursday, that means tomorrow, on the collective meditation. Namaskar to everyone.